Kenny returned home from work feeling sick to his stomach. As the housekeeper, Maria, opened the door for him, he barely managed a word before rushing upstairs. His urgency made it clear. Something was terribly wrong. He stormed into the bathroom. The discomfort was overwhelming. Moments later, Maria walked into his room only to be hit by a strong, unpleasant smell coming from the bathroom. She instinctively covered her nose. Kenny, from behind the door, instructed her to take money from his bag and go get him some medicine. She obeyed, opening the bag and finding $2,000 inside. While on her way to the pharmacy, Maria bumped into Vicky, Kenny's girlfriend. When Maria explained she was getting medicine for him, Vicky seized the moment to criticize her outfit, suggesting her short dress had an ulterior motive. Maria calmly explained that Kenny had promised to speak to the tailor about fixing it. Vicky, unimpressed, told her to find a longer dress in the meantime. Back at home, Kenny emerged from the bathroom just as Vicky entered. The stench startled her, but Kenny quickly explained his condition and mentioned that Maria had gone to get medication. He opened his bag. To his shock, the money was gone. Confused, he insisted he had left $2,000 right there. Vicky asked who had been in the room while he was in the bathroom. Kenny replied, just Maria and her. But he defended Maria. He had known her for a long time and she had never stolen anything. Vicky warned him to be careful. In her words, women can be unpredictable, and Maria might not be as trustworthy as he believed. When Maria returned, Kenny confronted her immediately about the missing money. She looked puzzled, saying she had only taken the amount needed and even brought back the change. Kenny didn't want to hear it. The fact was, there was money in the bag and now it was gone. He gave her 3 days to return it or face prison. Alone in the kitchen, Maria whispered to herself. She had never stolen anything from the house and didn't start now. Later that day, Maria approached Kenny again, begging him to believe her. She reminded him how long she had worked for him and pleaded for him not to destroy the trust they had built. But Kenny was unmoved. The money was missing, and she had been alone with it. Vicky entered, calling Maria a liar and accusing her of knowing exactly where the money had gone. Kenny, pressed for time, repeated the ultimatum: 3 days or prison. Vicky gave Maria chores to do while she prepared Kenny's breakfast. Meanwhile, Kenny, now in his room dressing for work, went to get something from the wardrobe. As he opened it, Vicky's handbag accidentally fell. Curiosity struck. He opened the bag and found the missing $2,000 inside. Shocked, Kenny called Vicky immediately. She claimed not to know how the money got there, feigning surprise. Then, without skipping a beat, she accused Maria of planting the money in her bag to make her look bad. She stormed downstairs, yelling Maria's name, accusing her of theft, and physically attacking her. Kenny, now confused and angry, questioned Maria again. Maria stood her ground. She hadn't been back in the room alone since the moment she returned to apologize. Every time she entered, Kenny was there. Her story made sense. Kenny told her to go back to her work, but Vicky wouldn't let it go. She demanded Maria be fired. Kenny pushed back. Maria had been in the house for years. He knew her. Vicky was new. He wasn't going to throw someone he trusted under the bus. Maria pleaded that she had nowhere else to go, that she was an orphan and just needed a second chance. Later after work, Maria again pleaded with Kenny. She didn't want him to view her as a thief. Kenny finally softened. He told her he believed her. As Maria cleaned, Kenny came downstairs and paused, caught by her presence. The short dress, the way she moved, it startled him. He quickly pretended to be looking for something, masking his thoughts. On a trip to the mall, Kenny and Vicky went shopping for perfume. At the counter, Kenny went ahead to pay. Vicky, behind, quietly slipped one perfume into her bag. At checkout, the shopkeeper confronted her. She had been seen. Vicky erupted in anger, denying the accusation and claiming it was hers. Kenny allowed her bag to be checked. The perfume was found inside. Embarrassed, he paid and left. Outside, Vicky lashed out. She expected him to defend her. Kenny replied he didn't want drama. Another day, Kenny gifted Vicky something and placed it in the table drawer. That evening, it was missing. He asked Maria. She denied seeing it. She had only cooked that day, not cleaned. As the argument escalated, the box fell from Vicky's clothes. Caught again, she laughed it off as a prank. Kenny wasn't amused. The following morning, Kenny was ready to go to work, but couldn't find his expensive wristwatch. He searched everywhere, growing more frustrated by the minute. He went to Maria, asking if she had seen it. She calmly replied that he placed the watch where he always did. Unsatisfied, Kenny went to Vicky and asked if she took it. He reminded her that the watch was a gift from his late mother and meant the world to him. He couldn't just lose it. Vicky denied everything, saying she hadn't been in his house for 3 weeks. She told him to ask Maria. Kenny returned home, this time confronting Maria more seriously. He told her she was the only one with access to his room, and now the watch was missing. Maria, scared and trembling, told him that since Vicky came into his life, things had been going missing, something that never happened when he dated other women. Kenny began to wonder, could Vicky be the one stealing from him? Later, Vicky walked into a salon to buy a wig. As the salesgirl went to the back to look for a specific type, Vicky remained alone. She grabbed the wig from a dummy and quietly left. When the owner returned and noticed it was gone, she questioned her worker. Suspicious, she ordered her to pull the CCTV footage. Kenny later went to visit Vicky. It had been a while. As Vicky stepped away to get him a drink, Kenny reached for the remote to turn on the TV, but it wasn't working. He opened a drawer, searching for another one, and there it was, his missing watch. He took it quietly, said nothing, and left. When he got home, he told Maria he had found the watch and apologized sincerely for accusing her. But Vicky wasn't done. She visited a supermarket, casually browsing through the aisles. After ensuring no one was watching, she slipped a product into her bag. Moments later, a crowd surrounded her. She was accused of stealing. Kenny rushed in, claiming she had called him. The store owner demanded 5 times the cost of the item, or they'd call the police. Vicky insisted she was going to pay. Kenny said nothing more. He paid the fine. In the car, Vicky tried to explain it was a mistake. Kenny told her he didn't want to talk about it. Days later, Vicky walked into the house and found Maria watching TV. She was furious and ordered Maria to go work. Maria calmly responded that her chores were done. Vicky tried sending her to the market. Maria refused, saying Kenny had instructed her not to leave the house for anyone. Angry, Vicky threatened to get her fired. Maria stood her ground. Vicky wasn't her boss. That night, as Maria served Kenny dinner, he invited her to sit with him. He told her to always feel free to join him at the table. Maria opened up about how Vicky had come in earlier and tried to send her out. Kenny thanked her for staying firm and protecting the house. After eating, Vicky said she was heading to bed, but Kenny asked her to sit and watch TV with him. They enjoyed the show together, but tension returned. Vicky lashed out, demanding Kenny fire Maria for how she spoke to her. Kenny reminded her that Maria was just following his instructions and that she had done nothing wrong. That night, Kenny couldn't sleep. He woke Vicky and told her she needed help. She denied everything, saying people were trying to set her up. Kenny confronted her. She had denied taking the watch, but he had found it in her apartment. Vicky admitted it was the only thing she stole. Kenny didn't believe that. He told her he knew she also took money from his bag. What he couldn't figure out was when. She confessed. She had entered the room earlier, saw the money, and took it before returning later to pretend it was her first time entering. Kenny was furious, not just for the theft, but for making him accuse Maria. He warned her that next time, someone else might not be as forgiving. They could kill her. Wanting to show appreciation, Kenny bought Maria a gift. They started spending more time together, watching TV, laughing. But Maria sensed Kenny was getting too close. She politely told him she was heading to bed. The next day, Kenny told her to prepare. He was taking her out to dinner. He asked her to wear one of the outfits he bought for her. When she returned, dressed beautifully and wearing makeup, Kenny was speechless. They held hands as they left the house. That night, Kenny invited Maria to his room. He asked her to sit, but she was hesitant. He told her she was beautiful, bold, and that ever since she entered his life, he couldn't resist her. He leaned in for a kiss, but Maria pushed him away and ran out. The following morning, Maria found her room locked. She called out to Kenny, saying his food was on the table and lunch was in the kitchen. One day, while Kenny and Vicky were walking, they were ambushed by the salon owner and her assistant. They accused Vicky of stealing the wig. Vicky denied everything, claiming she didn't even know them. But the owner had CCTV footage. She gave Vicky 2 choices: pay $3.5 million or be arrested. Kenny excused himself. He had other things to do. Vicky was taken back into the salon, where beatings followed. The police came. More beatings. Vicky nursed her wounds in silence. That night, Kenny ate alone. The next morning, he found his breakfast waiting. He went to Maria's room. She opened the door. He apologized and confessed he loved her. He asked her for a chance. Maria told him she didn't want trouble from his constant stream of girlfriends. Kenny assured her he had broken up with most of them. None came around anymore. He asked again, just one chance. The next day after they slept together, Maria shyly called Kenny boss. But Kenny corrected her. She was now his girlfriend. He told her to move her clothes into his room. Maria beamed with joy. Moments later, Vicky arrived. She claimed the salonist had no evidence, and they couldn't prove anything. Kenny didn't want to hear it. He told her she needed help. Days later, Vicky found Maria watching TV again. She exploded, telling her she was fired. An argument broke out. Kenny walked in. He wrapped his arm around Maria. Vicky was crushed. She insulted Kenny for being with a lowlife who couldn't even speak proper English. But Kenny had had enough. He told her he was embarrassed by her, that every store they entered had her picture pinned up as a thief. He told her he would still help her, but only if she admitted she had a problem. One night while Kenny and Maria were cuddling, there was a knock at the door. It was Vicky. Tears streamed down her face. She said she couldn't continue stealing, and that Kenny once promised to help her. He stepped aside and welcomed her in, this time ready to help her heal.